Hey everyone, Sean Wataza here, back with another video, and in today's tutorial video we're going to show you how you can deploy any smart contract and build a front-end application for it using thirdweb. So an overview of what we're going to be covering in this video: we're actually going to deploy a smart contract using Remix. We'll then take that contract, import it into thirdweb, and then use thirdweb's SDK, and we'll show you how easy it is to start interacting with any smart contract and how you can build a front-end application for it. But before we get into it, let's take a look at a quick demo of a simple application that we're going to be building for this tutorial. So right here on my computer, let me just sign out here. We have a little application here. This number here is getting pulled from a smart contract. We'll have a connect wallet button. So if we connect, we can just connect like our MetaMask wallet or something. And once we have a wallet connected, we can then put in a new number here. So let's just actually put 54321, and we can set the new value. And this will prompt up a MetaMask transaction here. We just need to confirm the transaction because we are writing this new value to the smart contract. And that will again execute and call our function from our smart contract, setting the value to the number that we inputted right over here. So this again is going to be a smart contract that we are going to deploy through a Remix. And what we're going to then be able to do is import that contract into thirdweb and start using thirdweb's SDK to build out an application for it. So the great thing with thirdweb's SDK is that we can use any smart contract and we can interact with any smart contract on the blockchain. It doesn't need to be a thirdweb deployed or a thirdweb pre-built contract in order to use the thirdweb SDK. And the first thing we'll do is head on over to Remix. We'll add a link down into the description below. But if you've ever used the Remix IDE here, this basically allows you to create Solidity smart contracts and deploy it right here in your browser. So when you first get to Remix, you'll have in the top left here in your file explorer, you'll have a folder here called contracts, and you'll have some pre-built contracts here already, or you can create a new file and create your very own Solidity contract. But for this tutorial purpose, we're just going to select the storage contract here. And you can see right over here in the right window, we have the contract or the Solidity file here. We have a contract called storage. Let me just zoom in just a little bit here. So we have a contract called storage. We have a variable here called number, which is going to store a uint 256. And we have two functions here. We have a store function, which is going to be a public function, which is going to then take the number that we give it and set the number variable to that number. Down here, we have a retrieve function, which is just going to be a view function. It returns us a uint 256. And all that's going to do is return us the number or the value that we have stored in our number variable. So this is a very simple storage smart contract, but this is what we'll use for our tutorial. Again, you can create whatever type of smart contract you want right over here. And if we come onto the left-hand navigation here, we're going to first come here and compile our storage. Then we'll come down to the deploy and run transaction here. For our environment, we're going to select our injected provider. I'm going to select my MetaMask account. And you can see here, this is pulling up my MetaMask wallet. I'm on the Mumbai network. So whatever we can open up your MetaMask here. Whatever network you have selected here in your MetaMask is going to be the network that you deploy your smart contract to. You can see here we have 5.2 Matic. That is what's pulling up right over here. And all we're going to do is select our storage contract. So our storage contract, and we're just going to hit deploy. You can see down here, we'll get a transaction that pops up. We just need to confirm this. This is us paying the gas to deploy the smart contract. We'll hit confirm. If you look down here, you'll see that we are now deploying our contract. We'll give it a moment. There you go. You can see that we have our transaction here, and we now have under this deployed contract section, our storage contract. So we deployed our own contract. We can actually copy this. If we take a look at it on a block explorer, I'm just going to go to Polyscan on the Mumbai testnet, since this is the blockchain that I deployed my contract to. I copied the contract address. So right over here, you can copy the contract address. We'll paste it in right in here to the Explorer. We can search. You can see that this is my contract here. We had just did this 40 seconds ago, which is we deployed the contract. And you can even see here that the contract is also verified, which is what we're going to need in order to import this into thirdweb. So we deployed a very own smart contract using Remix. You can see here that we can view the smart contract on Polyscan or whatever block explorer for the network or chain you're using. Next, we're going to head on over to thirdweb. You can sign in by connecting your wallet in the top right here. We're going to head on over to the contracts tab, and then you're going to see this button here. So deploy contract will bring you to the pre-built contracts that thirdweb has to offer. But if you come back one, you can have import. You'll see a button here that says import contract. And what we need to do here is select the network that our contract is on and then paste the contract address. We'll hit import. You can see here that it is now importing our contract. This can take a few minutes, so we'll come right back once this is done. So once that imports, you'll get a pop-up here for a signature request. This is if you want to add this and access this contract from your thirdweb dashboard. So we'll just sign this request here. That way we can access this contract dashboard through our contracts here when we're signed into the wallet that deployed it. So right over here, we now have our storage contract, which is the name. We have our contract address. It is imported into thirdweb. With the contract dashboard, we can view things here like analytics. We can see latest events, but for this contract, there were no events, so no events are going to show up for this. But what we can use is the code snippets. So this left-hand navigation, if we hit code snippets here, it'll bring us some getting started snippets and how we can implement this into our project. Below that is the Explorer. So very similar to your block explorer, where you may be able to, if we come over here and we go to contract, we can see our read functions here, which is retrieve, which is pulling up 0. We have our write functions here, which we can then call our write function, provide it with our number, and then call that write function on the block explorer. We can do the same thing here on thirdweb's dashboard. So under the Explorer here, we can view the read and write function. So you can see here, read, it retrieves 0. We have write here, so we can actually hit that store function. We can actually call the functions right over here. So let's just say we want the new value to be 123. We can execute it. It'll call this function for us. We'll get the transaction to pay the gas that pops up. We'll hit confirm. And you can see here, we have our transaction information. And if we come back to read here and we go to retrieve, you can see now that our output for retrieve is 123. So you'll be able to interact with your smart contract directly through thirdweb's dashboard as well, in a very user-friendly and a nice UI here. But now let's build out a front end for it. And because we have imported this contract to thirdweb, we can easily now pull this contract and use it in our front end and build a front end application for it. So I'm going to open up my terminal here, and I'm going to create a new thirdweb project by running npx thirdweb create app. I'm going to name this project here. We'll just name it any contract app. And we're going to use Next.js and TypeScript for this. Once that's done, we'll change into our project here, and we'll open this up in our code editor. And now we can start building out our application to interact with the smart contract that we deployed. Now, the first thing we're going to do is set up our project here to make sure that it can interact with our smart contract. And in the pages folder, we're going to go to the _app.tsx file. And in here, we need to set up our thirdweb provider. So the first thing we need to do is set up our client ID here. And this is going to be stored in an environment variable in a .env file. So coming back to my file directory here, you'll see a .env.example file, and you're going to see here there's a variable for your client ID. You're just going to paste in your thirdweb API client ID in there. In order to get that, if you come back to thirdweb and you go to the settings tab, you can then create an API key here. Now, if you want to learn more about API keys, you can click this link. We'll add a link down in the description. We'll also add a tutorial video down in the description as well that goes a little bit more in depth on creating API keys. But once you have that API key, just copy it, come back here, and paste that in. And one more thing we need to do is come to this .env file and rename this and get rid of the .example. So it is just .env. Then we can come back to the underscore app.tsx file. That takes care of the client ID. The next thing we need to do is set the active chain. Now the active chain is stored in a variable right up here. By default, it's Ethereum. You're going to change this to the network or chain that you deployed your smart contract to. So for us, we did it on the Mumbai blockchain. So I'm going to change that over to Mumbai. And with those two things set, that is all you need to do for your third web provider. And we can run this application. So let me just open my terminal here and run yarn dev. Going to open this up, and what we should see is thirdweb's templated project here. So you should see something like this. If we hit connect wallet, this is a connect wallet component, and we can connect any of our wallets here, like our MetaMask wallet, to our application, and we can even sign out. So once we have that set, we can now start building out our application. So coming back to my code editor here, I'm going to, let's just drop this down. Come back to my file directory and head on over to index.tsx. And this is that templated code that you get when you create a project with thirdweb. I'm going to delete all of this here and we'll start off fresh. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to throw in a div here really quick. And we're going to give this outside div some styling here. Let's just give it a display flex, flex direction column. We'll align items center, justify content center, and we'll give it a height of 100% of the view height. And then within that div, I'm going to create another div here. This is just going to be a div with the same thing, a flex, display of flex direction of column, align items, and justify content in the center. We'll give it a border, some padding, a border radius, and a background color, and a minimum width. And this should just give us a nice little card that's going to be in the middle of our screen. Inside of that card, we're going to add a connect wallet button. This is a UI component from thirdweb, and all we need to do is just add this component here, and it gives us the UI component for a user to connect a wallet to our application. So if I come back to my project here, you can see here we have our little card and we have a connect wallet button where we can now connect a wallet like our MetaMask or something. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just span this wallet, the full width of the card. So we'll come into our wallet component, connect wallet component here, add some styling, and we're just going to set the width to 100%. Come back, there we go. Now we have our connect wallet button spanning the full thing. Next, if we take a look at our demo here, where's my demo? If I sign out, we only want this section here, this input field and this button to show if there is a wallet connected. If not, we just want to display the value and everything here. So we're going to build those two sections out. We'll first display the value of what is stored on our contract. So we'll come back to our app here and we'll come back to our code editor. And I'm going to get rid of these two imports here. We don't need them anymore. And right over here, we're going to first get our contract. And first, we're going to get an instance of our contract. So we can get that using a hook from thirdweb. And we're going to use the use contract hook. And what we need to do is then provide it with our contract address. So we can come back here to our contract. And we can copy our contract address. You can just click on the contract address here. And all we need to do is paste that in. And we now have an instance of our contract. Next, we can now call a function from that contract. So if we look back at our contract here, we can call this read function called retrieve, and it will return us back the value of the contract, of the number variable that we have in our smart contract. So to call this retrieve function, all we need to do here is we're going to create a variable, and we're going to use the use contract read hook from thirdweb. And the use contract read hook, we need to provide it with our instance of our contract, which is the contract right up here. And then we need to give it the name of our function. And in this case, it is retrieve. And you can also pass it any arguments that the function may take, but in this case, retrieve doesn't take anything. It just calls the read function and returns us back the number variable value. Now we're going to get back with this hook's data property, which we can just call num value, and we can also get the is loading status of this, and we'll just keep that as is loading. So right below this connect wallet button, we'll just create a div, and in that div we'll create a h1 tag here, and we'll just say if the value is still loading, we'll just show 0, and if not, we will show the num value. Now this is going to return us a big number. So when you interact with smart contracts, normally the value returned is in a big number type. So if we come back here and we go to our app, you can see here we'll get an error, and it says that the object with keys is a big number here. So we just need to convert this, and we can just put dot to number here after that, and that should give us a value that we can display. So there you go. You can see we are displaying 1, 2, 3, which if we look at our contract is the output right over here. So if we write this again, let's just say we'll call it from our contract here in our contract dashboard. We'll just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll execute that store function to store this new value. We'll confirm that transaction. There you go. We updated that value there, so we can come back to our app, and you can see now it updates to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the next thing we want to do is let's build out a way for us to update that value right here in our application. Now we only want to be able to display the input field and the button to call that smart contract function if we have a connected wallet, because if a wallet isn't connected, we don't have a wallet that can execute the transaction for us. So we're going to make sure that we only display those input fields and that button if there is a wallet connected. So coming back to my code editor here, we first want to make sure that a wallet is connected, and we can do that by using the use address hook from thirdweb. So I'm going to create a address variable here, and we're going to use the use address hook from thirdweb. And what this is going to do is get us the wallet address of the connected wallet and return us that wallet address as a string. But if there is no wallet connected, it'll return us undefined, and we can use that to toggle whether or not a user can see the input fields or not. So right below our value number right over here, we'll create a section where only if there is an address will you be able to see these, and we're going to create a div, and let's give this div a style here of a display flex direction of column, center, we'll justify center as well, and we'll set the width here to 100%. And within that, we're going to create an input, which is going to be of type number. And we're going to create a button, but we're going to use a thirdweb component here, which is going to be a web3 button. And we'll go over that in just a bit. And this button is going to say set. We'll say set new value. But first, let's build out our input field first. We're going to need a state variable up here to keep track of our value. So we'll just create one here that says new value, and then we'll use state. Let's import that. And by default, it'll just be 0. So down here in our input, we have type number. The value will be new value. On change, we'll set the new value to whatever we have in our input. Then we'll have some styling here for our input, and we'll just give it a margin bottom here of 1 rem. We'll set the width here to 100%, give it some padding, give it a border radius, and we'll give it a border here as well. So we'll save that. We'll come back to our app, Again, you don't see it because we don't have a wallet connected. Once we connect a wallet, like our MetaMask wallet or something, you'll be able to see that input field right over here where we can put in a new value, and then we'll be able to click our button. Right now, our button isn't showing anything because we haven't properly set up our Web3 button UI component from thirdweb. So next, coming back to our code editor here, we'll set up that Web3 button. Now the Web3 button, we need to give it two things. We need to provide it one with the contract address that this is going to be interacting with, which we can just come back up here, grab our contract address, paste that in. And then the second thing we need to provide it is the action. What action is this button actually going to be calling on the contract address that we have up here? So we can get our contract, and on our contract, we can call. So if we go contract, we can call any function that we want, similar to how we called the read function using the use contract read hook here. We can call a write function here. And the function that we're going to call is, we can take a look back at our contract here. So we come back here and we go into write. We're going to call this store function. And in the parentheses here, you can just copy that. That is the name of the function. So we can come back here, and as a string, we're going to put in the store function is what we're going to call. Then we need to pass it an array of the arguments that that function takes. So if we take a look back at our contract again, our function, our store function takes a number, which we are going to set as the new value. So back over here, the number that we want to provide it is whatever the value of new value is. So that is all we need for our Web3 button. Again, what contract address is this going to be interacting with? And then what action is this button actually going to be calling on top of that contract address? Now we can add a few more things here for this Web3 button. We're going to add some styling here. So we'll just style, we'll add a width of 100%. We'll add a background color here of, we'll just change this to royal blue, and we'll change the color to white. That will change us the styling here. So if we come back to our app now, you can see right here, we now have a button that's blue that says set new value. And once we hit that button, it'll execute and change it to here. So we can actually click that now. We'll hit confirm. It's going to call our store function, pass it our store value here, which is 0, and set our value to that new value that we have, which is 0 here. Now, one more thing that we can add here is a on success. We can even add an on submit or on error here. So if we put on submit, we can say set the value back to 0. We can have on success here where we can, we can alert saying success, and then we can even add an on error. If there is an error, we can alert something or create any type of function that we want here when an error happens. So coming back to our app here, we can put here, we can go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We can set the new value. It changes that value back to 0. When we confirm it, once this is successful, we should see an alert saying that this transaction was successful. And we should also see the value update to the value that we inputted. And there you go. You can see we have success. We can hit OK. And you can see the value has changed to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So again, this was a demo of how you can deploy any smart contract that you want and still use thirdweb's SDK to easily build front-end applications and interact with those smart contracts. And what this means is you don't have to use thirdweb's pre-built contracts in order to use thirdweb's SDK and build out front-end applications for them. You can use any smart contract that's deployed to any EVM compatible blockchain. And if you import those contracts into thirdweb's dashboard, you can still easily start to interact with them and build out those applications. This means that you can use existing smart contracts that have been deployed by other people, or you can deploy your own smart contracts. But if you're looking for a quick and easy way to deploy, say, your own NFT collection or anything, you can use thirdweb's pre-built smart contracts and have all that customization and ability within your thirdweb dashboard. But there you have it. We were able to deploy our very own smart contract using Remix. We're then able to import that smart contract to thirdweb and build out our own front-end application to interact with that smart contract using thirdweb's SDK. So I hope you folks enjoyed this video and you found some value in it. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button and don't forget to turn on your notification bell so you don't miss out on more tutorial videos just like this. If you need any help or support, we'll add a link down in the description below where you can contact our support team, open a support ticket, and they can help answer any questions that you may have. But again, I hope you folks enjoyed this video, you found some value in it, and until next time, see ya.